Hey, hello, you're with Wolf Gorlock, a few minutes riffing on IT and IT security. Today looking at protecting test data. Apropos of nothing, I was in the office today. It's been a while since I've been in the office. And on the whiteboard they had 23 days since wolf sighted on this trail. Proceed with caution and dry humor. That cracked me up. That was pretty funny. So shout out to you, Janae. Thank you for that. The reason I was in the office was in part for a couple different meetings, and some of those were talking about setting up test environments. Now, every single requirement ever says protect your test data in your test environments, right? I mean, that's one of the things we need to do. So the tip for you is, I'm going to give you some advice on how to protect that data, but also I'm going to give you some advice on when you flat out can't. Why would you flat out can't? Well, so oftentimes what happens is the type of data we need is actual live data, or is a quantity of data that has to be generated in a certain way to do load testing, those sort of things, right? And so the easy thing to do is to copy production data into your test environment, and that way you can test with actual data and you can reduce the amount of errors because, hey, we've tested with the same stuff. Problem occurs when the bad guys go ahead and break into that test environment. One of the classic examples people talk about is healthcare.gov, which was breached, of course, many moons ago, but was breached not on the production side, but with the test side. But it didn't really matter because the test side had the production data. So don't do it. So that's one of the things that you look at all the time. Now, how can you construct a good process to protect your test data? One is you need to involve the data owner, right, and the business owner. So, step one, have a process in place when you're doing testing, a QA process, a test process, whatever it is, where you do a sanity check and say, okay, what are we testing? What's the sensitivity of that data? Is there any way to prevent or mimic that data so that we don't have production data? Good examples that include personally identifiable information of any shape or form, names, addresses, social security numbers, VIN numbers, any number that can tie back a person to an entity, those sort of things. Step one, hopefully you filter out a lot of those requests right there, right? Maybe we'd still move over a set of data tables that are needed, but we, create fake users. Okay, that works. For the data that doesn't meet that, okay, now we have to look at, can we use that data from production? We've done a sanity check. We've made sure that if we could get away with not doing it, right, where technically feasible, we've stopped that test data. So now we're going to look at that, moving that data into production. We may have some opportunities to anonymize it, obfuscate it, those sort of things. Now, there are tools out there that does this. One of the pushbacks you always get is those tools are expensive. It depends on how much you're testing and how much risk there is, but investigate those tools. Hopefully, step one, we get rid of the test data at all. Step two, the production data, or we get rid of the production data altogether. Step two is we obfuscate the production data we can't get rid of. Step three, you're still going to be left with an amount of data that we can't work around and emulate, and that we can't obfuscate. What do you do with this third category of data? Now remember, the reason we're doing all this is because we're concerned about there being a breach within that test environment, and that it can be a concern if anyone can get access to the dev environment, or if there's reduced security requirements in the dev environment, or if the dev environment isn't monitored. So the way to handle that residual risk, not the stuff that we can simulate, not the stuff we can obfuscate, actual real production data. The way to mitigate that risk is to wrap the same controls around it that you have in the production environment. That means access control. That means an identity and access management process, so only people get access that need it and they get removed when they're out of the company. That means monitoring, right? So that if anyone does anything funky, you catch them. And that means vulnerability management. We're patching, we're keeping the system up to date. As a matter of fact, you can oftentimes make a test environment more secure. Why? Because you can deploy the patches up without having to worry about taking systems down or breaking things. So you wrap around, as a compensating control, those same level of security controls that you have in production, you wrap around your dev to close the residual risk. And then you tell the others, here, look, We have a sanity check. We obfuscate what we can, and we protect the rest of the data this way. That's what I would suggest. How about you? Have you faced this? Have you tackled it in a way that I'm not thinking about? I think you have. Hit me up in comments or social media. And if you're with my employer, I miss you guys. I'll be back in the office soon. Cheers.